Wes, mein friend, and welcome to another video. My dear friends, in the midst of all the bad adaptations that are being crapped out by Hollywood, I think it is time to bring attention to something wholesome, to something that really is worth it. Although, not for everybody, because it is in a very specific place in the world. And also, if you want to just look, well then alright. But if you want to purchase one of these things, I suppose you will have to be one of the rich people in the world. So please look at the screen. The first edition Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings books are on sale at Dubai exhibition. Kinokuniya teams up with the Rare Bookshop to bring antiquarian culture to the city. Now, I wish this happened in more places all around the world, if only just to display old books in museums. And then, of course, specifically, I mean, like fantasy and science fiction books. We all know that old manuscripts and medieval scrolls are being regularly on display in museums. But with the rise of pop culture and geekness all around the world, and with all, people who are genuine geeks and also people who are just saying they are geeks, I think that museums should take this into consideration. And this, isn't really being discussed by many people, but I think that's, a nice idea. I know that there are museums that are like more or less geek-oriented, but it's most like fan-run. Fans make their own museums of a history of one thing or another. Well, for myself, I know that in my country, in the Czech Republic, there's like a guy who owns a retail action figurine statue shop online, and he also has a couple of what he calls museums all around the Czech Republic, where he displays like expensive statues by Sideshow Collectibles, life-size replicas and things like that. That are not in film used things, just, the collectibles basically. But there are still people, believe me or not, there are still people who pay for a ticket to his quote-unquote museums to go look at his collection, which I wouldn't. I mean, I don't see the point. But to each his own. But this is something that I would really like to see with my own eyes. What you can see at the pictures, apparently the first edition set of Tolkien's Lord of the Rings at show at the collectible editions by Zazura Rare Books. So let's dive into the short article, and we shall then talk about it further. A first edition of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets signed by J.K. Rowling and a rare first edition of J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings are currently on display as part of a vintage book exhibition by Kinokuniya bookstore in Dubai Mall. Collectible editions by Zazura Rare Books, a shop dedicated to vintage books, is a pop-up exhibition featuring 15 popular first edition books, which will be rotated every week. The titles from the eclectic collection will also be available for sale until the exhibition closes at the end of the month. Now, if you want to ask me if I had millions and millions and millions, I know what I would do with them. I would make a short trip to Dubai. Also currently on display are first editions of the Sherlock Holmes novel The Hound of the Baskervilles by Arthur Conan Doyle, which was released in 1902. Now there, you can be sure that this version is not censored or abridged by the sensitivity readers. The contemporary classic American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis, and the James Bond novel From Russia with Love by Ian Fleming. Dubai Mall is one of the busiest malls in the world, so to have the chance to get these books in front of thousands of people is really exciting. Alex Warren, founder and owner of Zazura Rare Books, told The National. And just to see people's reactions is great, because a lot of these books are crowd pleasers. People will like looking at them, and it's the only place in the country where you can see them. Most people probably haven't seen first editions of these books before. Well, that's a very, very fair point indeed. The first edition set of The Lord of the Rings, comprising The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King, is one of the highlights of the exhibition. Warren says, It is the Eye of Sauron at the front, and the book covers were designed by Tolkien himself. Each book has a folding map at the back of different parts of Middle-earth, designed by Tolkien's son. They're really nice items and look really cool. Another highlight for Warren is a book and writer that not many people have heard of, but one that is relevant and important to the region. Maker of Modern Arabia, the story of Ibn Saud by Amin Rihani is a first edition copy of the first-hand account of the Lebanese-American author spent in the 1920s with the founder and first king of Saudi Arabia. This book is special because it is extremely rare to find it with a dust jacket with a cover. There's no other copy on the market at the moment that's got that, so that is genuinely rare, Warren says. Amin Rihani had traveled around Saudi Arabia with Ibn Saud in the 1920s, and it's interesting because he's not writing from the perspective of a Westerner. He's an Arab and he spoke to him in Arabic but wrote in English. It's not written from the perspective of some guy coming and translating or someone with this Orientalist view. 3 months ago, Kinokuniya set up their own section of new collectible books after store manager Steve Jones saw the appeal of specialized and carefully designed books to the public. Collectability is the next big thing, Jones says. I already saw from this new section that collectible editions sold straight away in big quantities in a way we didn't expect. Jones then became very interested in collaborating with Zazura after a recent trip to Scotland, where he visited an antique bookstore and thought that it was time Dubai had its own antiquarian culture. The collectible editions that Kinokuniya are offering include a limited edition of the Testaments by Margaret Atwood, of which only 100 pieces were ever produced worldwide, and a special edition of Commendatore by Haruki Murakami, which comes with traditional Japanese paint and paintbrushes in a wooden box. Only 50 of these are available worldwide. We already have a section of collectible editions in store. These are leather-bound editions, Penguin Classic editions, limited number editions. We have them in one dedicated place now. So there will be a combination of the antiquarian books from Zazura as well as our own collectible editions and new books too, Jones says. Warren hopes that the exhibition will encourage people to start collecting books and build their own libraries. I hope the exhibition puts a smile on people's face because I've seen the reaction when someone sees the first edition of Harry Potter. There's just a uniqueness, a value in seeing something that's old. Books can be like a snapshot of the past. It's something to pick up, and you can see and smell. It's a piece of history. Collectible editions by Zazura Rare Books is running until June the 30th. At Kinokuniya bookstore in the Dubai Mall. I like this guy. I like this guy who is running the show and the shop and the exhibition and who said all these very wise things. It is very much different from the trend of today, which is, of course, to censor and to abridge and by this to destroy books, literature, and ultimately history. So let me know in the comments down below what you think, and that'll be all. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm out of here.